So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, colleagues. Welcome to the monthly webinar of Local Government and Municipal Authorities Constituency to the UNFCCC. This is the February webinar. We are just giving us one more minute for every colleague to settle down. So bear with us and thanks for your patience and interest. Good. I think all colleagues who are planning to join us have settled down, and we will not be disturbing anyone in during the call. So I think we can kick off. My name is Yunus Arikan, Director of Global Advocacy at ICLE Local Governments for Sustainability, and I'm leading this webinar series in my capacity as the focal point of the LGMA constituency, the Local Governments and Municipal Authorities Constituency, to the UNFCCC. We have been leading these webinars for a couple of years back, and we're repeating them every month, every third Wednesday, and in the morning and afternoon time for Central European time zone. This gives us the chance that we can connect both Eastern Hemisphere and Western Hemisphere colleagues. Those who have been familiar with these webinars, we usually take around 1 hour. These webinars are recorded and then uploaded on the YouTube channel as well as on our website, LGMA website, the citiesandregions.org. We usually recommend us to go through the presentation in its entirety, then open the floor. But during the call, if there are any burning questions, feel free to type them in the chat box. We usually cover what has been the latest progress since the last webinar, but we also have some standing agenda items, and in time to time we have guests in our webinars. For today's webinar, I am delighted that we have enjoyed participation of two of our friends. The first one was Rodrigo Rufur, the International Relations Manager of Association of Brazilian Municipalities, ABM. We were very lucky because he's currently in Barcelona for the Global Task Force and UCLG retreat. So he was able to join us in the morning session. And today in the afternoon session, my colleague Bianca Cantoni, the Institutional Relations and Advocacy Coordinator of ICLE South America, is with us. We have particularly asked both of them to share both of these webinars, the outcome from the meeting is in last week in Brasilia, which will be an important agenda for today's discussions. Bianca has been familiar with ICLE and LGMA, but with Rodrigo, this was the first time we met in this context. We had a very nice interactive debate in the morning, and I'm confident that we will have another round with Bianca. And I'm very happy that they're already coordinating their inputs and discussions. So in the agenda, we will take you through some background information so that all the participants are on the same page. I know there are some usual suspects, usual partners of the LGMA, but sometimes we may have new colleagues. We will particularly start updates from the COP30 president, and within the scope, we will invite then Bianca to share her insights and updates. Then we will continue on progress with the latest multi-level NDCs and focus a bit on our progress with LGMA calendar governance and town hall COPs, which is a hot topic, a priority topic this year in 2025. So with this brief introduction, let's go through. Let's start with who we are once again. Remind ourselves we are the voice of subnationals, towns, cities, and regions, states, provincial governments across the world in the UNFCCC process since '95. This has been one of the oldest UNFCCC constituencies in that sense. We primarily aim to influence the negotiations, obviously, to the UNFCCC process by year-round engagement through workshops, submissions, and statements as appropriate. Since Paris Agreement, we are contributing to the action agenda with Marrakesh Partnership and high-level champions. we always support the presidency so that their initiatives complement our efforts that was coming from years round of our engagement, and it could be then connected to the next coming agendas so that we ensure continuity. And we, of course, among all of them, we also particularly engage with the Friends of Multi-Level Action, which is the countries who are friendly with the local and regional government's agenda, particularly multi-level action and urbanization. And we are aware this group of countries may not always be static, depending on the changes in the national governments. These countries may have different engagement. There are some countries who were on the front line or on the pioneering. There are some countries that can be not putting this so much as a priority. So it's a dynamic group that we have to take into account and respect the national positions. Of the countries. And we have several tools. You are now in this webinar. I'm sure you have, because you're here, you already registered yourself to the rest of the monthly agendas. And you will also be able to follow our activities through our bulletin, monthly bulletin, that gives a compilation of what we have been discussed here, but also even more. It's also open for contributions of our partners across the world on the LGMA constituency. Maybe we should underline that LGMA constituency officially is gathering the accredited organizations to the UN Climate Secretariat, but in practical terms, we are opening the doors for all the networks at the national and regional level without necessarily their accreditation process. So we want to be as inclusive as possible. The world is going into a new era of climate action, starting from Belém, because there will be new national climate plans to be submitted, and this will set the stage for the next 5 or 10 years. How did we reach here until this year? It was more than 30 years of engagement. We can describe this in 4 phases. The first couple of years, we were excited because of the Earth Summit, recognition of local authorities, but then there was a kind of a break, let's say frozen area, let's say, because the UNFCCC and Kyoto Protocol did not acknowledge our role in the process. So until 2005 or 2007, when they were starting to discuss the second phase of the Kyoto Protocol, we said that don't repeat this mistake third time. Make sure this time we are engaged, recognized, engaged, and empowered. That was the motto of Local Government Climate Roadmap towards Copenhagen. After Copenhagen, let's say, breakdown, we did not give up. We continued to invest in multilateral process, and we started even more aggressively with new initiatives to make sure global processes continues. And that was the reason why we were so happy with the Paris Agreement, because we had made the recognition of all levels of government. And starting from Paris Agreement, we have been engaged in so many initiatives, processes inside and outside the UNFCCC, with and without, with the partners of LGMA, but also new partners. This have given their fruits. We have made sure the urgent need for multi-level action was recognized in the Glasgow Climate Pact. Since then, we have rolled out, we have encouraged urban and climate ministerials as a new mechanism into the UN climate process, so that ministers of urbanization, ministers of climate can talk with us, local and regional governments, and we can build this discussion together. That proved to be successful. We had initiatives on urbanizations like Surge, multi-level NDC initiative like CHAMP, and a multi-sectoral action pathways by MAP. And among them, that is making us very powerful, because the Emirates Consensus paragraph 161 urges all countries for multi-level action. That's why we are particularly strong this year, because this is a mandate that is officially in the Emirates Consensus. Not going to do details, but you can find our website that is capturing all our engagement over these 30 years with the links and all these official documentation we had. For those who have not been in Baku, we have made our blue zone, the negotiations area engagement, in 5 main, let's say, work streams. Of course, we have interventions, official interventions, verbally and interacting with the ministers. We had our position paper launched in a press release and in a side event. Our home was multi-level action urbanization pavilion. with the presidency, we have contributed to their initiatives, MAP initiative, the ministerial side event, Continuity Coalition, and the Urban and Climate Ministerial, and of course, Marrakesh Partnership. Other pavilions, we carried the flag, and especially on the UNFC side events as well. And we spent significant time to influence the negotiations, especially mitigation work program, finance, adaptation, loss and damage, and global stocktake. From Baku, we released our daily bulletins, on-site interviews, videos, and numerous updates, announcements from our partners, which are all available on our website. We were this year particularly also very happy and satisfied with the elevation of our negotiation skills with our position paper, which is supported by 3 annexes on multi-level action, on climate finance and integrated action. And this was helpful for our delegations, both in their dialogues at the national level, at the capitals, but also in the thematic negotiations. This shows the diversity of our achievements, and we were very happy that over these 2 weeks, the multi-level action and urbanization pavilion served as the home, as the global stage for our presence. It was particularly hosting our daily briefings, but all the partners have found their ways here. We were grateful for our co-hosts, Azerbaijan government under SKUPA, Turkish government by Minister of Environment and Climate Change and Urbanization, as well as Zero Waste Foundation and İlbank and Bloomberg Foundation have all helped us, and the other partners who have developed the agenda together. It was a remarkable achievement. What we said at the end of the conclusion of the Baku, we were feeling that we are entering a difficult phase. The global institutions were starting to be weakened, and in that atmosphere, the role of local energy governments, be it in the global north and be it in the global south, would be even more important to ensure solidarity, to ensure that the momentum is high, and it will be even more important for the multi-level NDCs. On the finance state decision, we also said that it was good that it is tripled from the public finance and innovative finance introduced, but we are aware its compilation will still be a difficulty, and we are ready to be part of the discussion as well. So this is a new update, as you have seen. This is an update as of today because, as you are familiar, the presidency has been. It's normal that in the first couple of months they are progressing in terms of defining their teams and defining their priorities. The previous, the current presidency from Azerbaijan is still in charge, but their capacity is obviously lowered because of their decreased load of work. We are, of course, all looking forward to the new presidency from Brazil. We have heard André Del Lago from Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador André Del Lago, and Minister of Environment, Secretary of Environment Anna Toni has been announced as the COP President designate and as the COP CEO. The CEO is a new term that has not been used by other presidencies, but it's now normal that every presidency takes this process based on their national structures and priorities. You see, we have now started to use the official logo of COP30, Amazonia. We have noted that in the past, there was a trend that the Conference of Party meetings are aligned or attached to the city where it was hosted. But here you can see, yes, Belém is the host, but there is a strong reference to Amazonia. Amazonia as a region is promoted, and that is consistent with the Brazilian government to give emphasis to the role of Amazonian region in climate change and also introducing interconnectivity in connection to indigenous people, urbanization, and also nature in Amazonia. We are still assuming that the presidency is still improving their internal decision making and team development. For example, high-level climate action champion, youth champion, they are still in the making. We are looking forward to their announcements. We heard this week we were introduced by Mario Gustavo Mottin as the responsible for dialogue with the observers. So not just LGMA, but all the observers from trade unions to the indigenous people. So that's good that we have a counterpart. These colleagues have always been instrumental in helping us in connection with the presidency. Therefore, we are aware there is a very active discussion, and that brings us to our discussion with Bianca. This slide you see, in fact, is an extract from the official COP30 Brazilian host country website, which is, as far as I know, just opened on Monday or last week. And this screenshot is summarizing the event that was held last week in Brasilia, which is part of a bigger mobilization, but particularly focusing on COP30, the new mayors forum. I don't want to describe the whole background there. That was the main reason why we have asked Bianca to join us, so that what was this meeting about? What was the discussion with the local government and municipal authorities, national networks and global networks? That meeting, how was it resonated, and any background, especially in the dialogue with the national partners in Brazil? Bianca, thank you very much, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Yunus. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon here in Brazil. I'm speaking from São Paulo in a national meetup of the Climate Observatory here in Brazil. So climate agenda, it's running fast here, and I'm sorry for any noise that might be around me. But yes, last week, President Lula invited all of the new elected and re-elected mayors of Brazil to a gathering of 4 days in Brasilia, holding and hosting many events. Of course, this was not a gathering about COP30 or about climate initiatives, but CHAMP, climate federalism, and many other climate related sessions were held with mayors, with more than, I guess, 3,000 mayors participating in this agenda. So I think it's important that you're flagging this meetup, because this shows how the federal government in Brazil have a good and strong relation with federalism and with these new elected mayors. And thinking about these discussions there, we participated in discussions about CHIMP. I don't know if everyone here is aware, but there is a federation council in Brazil, and this federation council is responsible. It has many ministries like the environment, the Ministry of Cities, and also the national associations of state governments and municipalities. So all of these organizations are part of this council of the federation, and they are responsible for follow and implement CHAMP initiatives in Brazil, and for holding this discussion and interaction with the federal government and levels of government. And the reason why I'm saying this is because of course, in the past COPs, we had municipal involvement in some point of from the other countries, as Azerbaijan um, or Dubai and the Emirates. But I think Brazil has a completely different um, scenario in regards to the protagonism of the subnational governments in the COP processes, in the COP negotiations. So we have three main, let's say, national associations of municipalities in Brazil. They differ from each other in terms of number of cities involved, population, etc. But all of these three organizations are willing very much to have a protagonism in terms of informing negotiations, in terms of engagement at COP30. And this has to be, of course, with the international part, which is the LGMA constituency, that although the national organizations, it's very welcome how much they are engaged and how much they are contributing to this agenda. We also need to inform and collaborate with the rest of the world and the other organizations that are part of the LGMA constituency, in order for us to work together very closely from in to outside and from outside to inside. So in this regard, as you might know, also as a constituency, our year of events start earlier than this meeting in Brazil. We were also in Cuenca in the UCLG intermediate cities um, event earlier this year as well, and there um, a was together the ECLAY and UCLG ABM, which is the Association of Brazilian Municipalities. And from there until Brasilia last week, until now, we have been discussing the creation of a national LGMA coordination group just for exactly to interact between the international LGMA organizations and then very strong national mayors associations that are in place in Brazil and willing to support. So I think this is a great outcome. I think that it will be very interesting, the creation of this national LGMA coordination group, of course, in collaboration with the three main associations of municipalities, as well as the Ministry of Cities in Brazil is playing like a key role in supporting and securing the implementation of CHAMP here in Brazil. You might also know that our NDC release at COP29 has in its page 6 a very strong reference to CHAMP and for the climate federalism as a mean of implementation of the climate agenda. So this is a huge win from Brazil, and I think that we can share all of this knowledge with other countries and other organizations, building a strong LGMA national and international group here, not only to engage and mobilize cities towards COP30, but also to inform negotiations, to be close to the ministries that are part of this roadmap towards COP30, and also to be aware and well informed of everything that is happening from local to the global. Yunus, I'm sorry, I don't know if I spoke too much or if you want to add me or ask something specific, but I
Thank you.
think that was it.
Thank you, Bianca. Thank you. That was really good to share with us what is the background and all the discussions. And obviously, we would be willing to have continuous dialogue with our colleagues in Brazil, as you have rightly said. So the idea of the national level engagement of LGMA has been in the agenda since Glasgow, when we had this multi-level action process being designed. But it was true in Egypt, in Dubai, in Baku. Conditions, the priorities and the structures were not very suitable or not ready for this kind of an engagement. And in fact, Brazil is containing everything that we can look for, or everything that really helps to this purpose. Let's remember, Brazil has been a long-term champion of sustainability as the host of the Rio Summit in '92, this multi-level collaboration. So there are a lot of things that we could benefit, and there are a lot of things that we can also help, so that by the time we reach to Belém, which is not the goal itself, but the results that we will bring to Belém, that the collaboration with the Brazil partners will be extremely important. Let me address once again, this picture is really powerful. We have Ambassador Delago here. We have Anatoni here. We have Ambassador Da Costa from Minister of Cities, all the president of associations, and Greg Robertson on behalf of the champ, the ambassador, which shows that, imagine the president of Brazil was in that meeting. So there is a huge agenda, but all the high-level representative of the presidency is there, and we heard that this was a very lively, interactive debate. This shows really in the way towards Belém, the subnational engagement, urbanization, and multi-level action will be one of the minimum top 3 priorities of Brazil. That gives us the confidence. And now we are waiting for the champion to be coming here. Maybe we should also address, Bianca, this meeting was for the mayors to prepare them for their 5 years of engagement. So there will be additional opportunities, especially with the states of the Brazil, because they also are a strong partner. Here, it was not aiming to reach to the governors of Brazilian states. Very likely that there will be more interactions with them and encounters with them. And we will make sure that we will have regular updates from our national partners in our LGMA calls, and we will feed this into our preparations. In case there are questions, Bianca, I'm sure you are here until the end of this webinar. Let's continue and then come back to the Brazil once again, because I know it was very, very interesting for all the other international partners of this call as well. Multi-level indices is really now rolling out. We have started discussion in the last webinar in the end of January. We know the deadline of 10th of February was a soft deadline because this was the legacy of the Kyoto Protocol era. When the Kyoto Protocol was implemented, the Annex 1 parties were presenting their reports, UNFCCC was tracking, analyzing, and then questioning why they have failed or how they are progressing or not progressing, and they were even taken to the compliance committee and receiving some punishments. That changed in the Paris Agreement significantly. No enforcement, no compliance regime is foreseen, so everything is at the national level. Therefore, UNFCCC is mainly ensuring transparency, accountability of the progress, but more importantly, creating a momentum, a public pressure, so that these new NDCs, which can be submitted by any country anytime, they are better than the previous ones. But there is a reality that it could be worse, and we have seen this. There are some countries who have weakened their commitments in the past. So in theory, we would like every new NDC to be better than the before. And here we have more opportunities because Emirates, Dubai, COP28, COP29, COP27 have decided so many commitments from for the transition from fossil fuels to commitments on other energy efficiency areas or reflecting food, culture, nature, justice, just transition, urban loss and damage, or loss and damage in its entirety. We're assuming that all these topics, as well as all the initiatives that we have been building since Glasgow or under the Marrakesh Partnership and high-level channels, are all feeding their ways to these NDCs. But it is not easy, we know that, and there's no guarantee. However, we are very happy that as of today, around 40% of the submitted NDCs, which is 21 as of today, 9 of them come from champ endorsers, and this is a significant number. Let's remember there are only 75 endorsers, and actually the latest one was announced today, yesterday, sorry. But those countries have already been actively presenting their reports, and we have seen in all of these 9 indices much better recognition of multi-level action and urbanization. As mentioned by Bianca, climate federalism is a brand in Brazilian NDC. U.S. government says that whatever happens at the federal level, U.S. cities and states will be there with their commitments. UK has for the first time given the experience of the core cities network in addition to devolved administration. Similarly, Canada continues to keep an annex of provinces and territories, but they also had additional information on the cities and climate efforts of the cities as well, in terms of also promoting the champ endorsement of the country. In Ecuador, we see 8 cities included. Panama, all cities of Panama are working with the Minister of Environment. Japan says that they have created their regional councils. So you can see in every NDC very promising examples, and this gives us the confidence and this gives us the hope that our vision that we would like to turn all NDCs with strong urban components by the end of this year is making progress. We are getting closer to this goal, and that is the chart that you see was the NDCs in the past, and we have seen with the analysis from UNABI that there's still a potential of 2/3 of the NDCs could be better. And these 9 and others to follow demonstrate that this is in the making and this is coming up. That's why our work this year is more important to make sure that by the time we reach to September, when UNFCCC wants to have these reports, all the NDCs are reflecting this paragraph 161, or champ endorsers really deliver their commitments that they bring us on board. And this success is more important than being present in Belém, and that's what we are also discussing. Our journey towards Belém is more important than where we are, how many people we are there, what is the size of our pavilion. That's why we will come back to this idea of our pavilion and town hall COPs once again. The calendar, we are also updating this. It was reflected in the bulletin, the January bulletin. This calendar was shared there. We have now improved it. There are some new information coming up. For those who are familiar, the three colors represent the three type of engagement we have. The top yellow one are the ones that are led nationally or globally, like the G7, G20, or national processes. The blue ones are the ones that are UNFCCC led process, which has its own rules and procedures and mechanics. And the green ones at the bottom are the ones that are led by LGMA constituency and their partners at various opportunities, be it their summits, be it their conferences. You can see we are, since the beginning of the year, we are saying that compared to last year, this year we have less international agendas. That's an opportunity. We can spend more time at home. We can reach to our national capitals. But we will be following some events, obviously. June is particularly very busy. We have just heard additional announcements. For example, traditional Petersburg climate dialogues will be held this year in Berlin in end of March. We are aware now the Urban 20 Summit is in middle of September, and we will still check how we will be participating in the G20 Summit, which is the last week of COP30. Or we will see how we will roll out the daring cities and the town hall COPs throughout the year, and contribute these discussions in synergy. We will update this chart and share this in our website as well as the bulletin as well. So keep giving us the information on your agendas. We promised in the last webinar in January that we need to revise or improve our engagement mechanisms, our position paper, engagement and thematic processes, taking into account this year-round agenda, as well as making the efforts that at the national level, the advocacy starts at the national level. That's why, in addition to the champ and NDCs, one of the channels we would like to use is the town hall COP, so that these receive direct feedback or input from the communities. They make the dialogue with their national governments via local governments, and they make them visible in the NDCs or via LGMA so that their voices are heard. So the goal is that by the time we reach to Belém, it's not just the people who can travel or who have the resources to travel, but thousands of cities, thousands of communities demonstrated that they are implementing Paris Agreement at home, and the national governments are not alone, and they are working in collaboration. So in that regard, we would like to advance with this national coordination group, the first experience in Brazil. We are aware this will be changing every year depending on the conditions of the national government. So COP31 will be a completely different structure, but we would like to advance in this model. Thematic working groups, last year we had 15. We are questioning whether there is a need for consolidating some of these working groups, making sure deliverables are much more concrete, and making sure that they are much more effectively feeding into our position and the strategic goals to be achieved by COP. And that brings us to the discussion that maybe not just a committee focusing on the position, but rather a year-round engagement that gives guidance to our work and ownership as well, institutionally and personally, that can meet more often, that can share more updates and make sure that we have the right mandate wherever we go. We will make sure there will be also opportunities for our ambassadors, leaders, and spokespersons, especially that they speak at home and or their national partners. When they speak, that they can comfortably say that I am speaking on behalf of the LGMA constituency, but I am XYZ at the national or local level. And obviously, we as ICLABEL are committed to help this process to be facilitated at all levels. My last slide, so that we can now open the floor as well. In this period of the next 8 months or so, as in the past, the Bonn conference of UN climate conferences in June will be an important role because that will be the last stop before going to Belém. And we would like to make sure the Daring Cities Forum will continue to keep us connected both to the champ endorsers, but the UN climate negotiators and UNFCCC partners, So as of today, we have already announced that 16th to 18th of June, the first 3 days of the UN Climate Conference subsidiary body meetings will be the peak moment of our engagement in the process. We will start with an internal LGMA closed door meetings, and thanks to the hospitality of the BMZ, premises of BMZ. On the 17th of June, we will be inside UNFCCC. We just received assurance that UNFCCC Secretariat and Marrakesh Partnership will do their best to help us. We will be using that moment to have high-level dialogues inside UNFCCC, action agenda, champ endorsers roundtable. As you have seen, there are a lot that champ parties now can share with us, and several discussions like the synergy between the three Rio conventions and other topics. And on 18th of June, we will be at the GIZ auditorium with a broadcasted event. We will have deep dive on multi-level action with numerous examples at the country level, but also how we share our experiences. We will not be restricted by the UN. So there will be a bit more relaxed, and it will be giving us more opportunities or flexibilities. In the afternoon, we will continue the debate on roundtables, focusing on IPCC, the seventh assessment report, special report on cities, as well as the business and innovation efforts that especially helping our leaders to address their climate emergency plans. So that's where we would be advancing in the mid-year in June. By that time, we are confident that there will be a lot of updates and interaction with the ministry, with the various leaders of the Brazilian presidency. And in the next couple of weeks and months, we will announce additional opportunities. For example, on the 5th of March, the kickoff webinar of Daring Cities, we will hear from the Ambassador da Costa, the International Relations Advisory of the Minister of Cities, along with other leaders, so that they can share what's the preparations in Brazil and in Belém and Para. I think we have covered our input for this webinar this month, but I'm sure many of the participants of this call may have some additional updates if needed. And we are open this space. We still have 20 minutes to advance to the end of the hour. You can type in your inputs, or you can also raise your hand so that we can enable you to intervene verbally, however you wish. You may have noticed we have kept it as a condensed, and if there are any need, we can expand a bit the topics that we have discussed before, be it in the calendar or be it in the Brazilian process or the NDCs. Augustin Munyaneza, it would be very nice if you can introduce yourself first, and then we are happy to hear your inputs. Joanna, can you unmute our colleague Augustin?
Yes, Augustine, you should be able to speak now.
But I think he's still muted. Augustine, in the worst case, you can also consider typing until you sort out your microphone issue. That could also be an option. I see in the chat box Delfina from STSN Urban Finance Commission, which are leading the LGMA working group on finance. Delfina, thanks for your contribution. Yesterday and the day before, we were at the Global Task Force retreat in Barcelona, and the debate on finance came up again. Just to catch up, I mean, we were all aware of that this new money is finally agreed, but you have just heard in the last couple of weeks one of the biggest donor, United States, have stopped their contribution to many international processes, including climate finance, contributing almost 1/3, or in some areas 1/4 of the global budget. So availability of this agreed figure is now under question. We're also discussing, there is something that is real, the 800 billion of the urban investment that is needed by 2030, that this money is still needed. But then I think this year we will start to discuss how this compiling of this 100 billion or 300 billion, what does it mean for our global cities and regions in the global north, and how this reaches to our cities in the regions in the global south. I think the finance working group will put this as a priority and come up with additional information. And we will, of course, continue to discuss the non-market approaches on the finance and as well as innovative mechanisms that we can consider. Just to add, I mean, I'm not sure whether you have additional updates from the SDSN Commission's efforts. Of course, finance for development this year will be an opportunity because the money that is on the table is not in the hands of ministers of environment, but it's in the hands of ministers of finance. Yes, Delphina, let's make sure that under the LGMA working group, we are also making these discussions actively and connecting to our processes. We just agreed, Chefchaouen Mayor Sefiani is committed to be in Sevilla. He is the vice president of ICLE, as well as with the UCLG and the Global Covenant of Mayors. So we will continue to work with him so that he can take the torch further. There are a couple of feedbacks in the chat box. Let me try to follow them. So Gülnihal Koç, although these developments preceded the U.S. withdrawal from the Paris Agreement and the draft law has been criticized by experts, the establishment of this framework seems to be a positive development. Gülnihal Hanım, I assume you refer to the UNFCCC framework, but if you wish, you can also expand what you try to share here. I'm not sure whether I understood it correctly. We have another input from Perla Martinez. As a member of Urban Research Center, how can I participate in Daring Cities? Do we need registration or UNFCCC badge? Perla, thanks for your interest. You have seen the agenda of Daring Cities is a combination of meetings inside UNFCCC and outside UNFCCC. The process in the GIZ auditorium on the 18th of June is open as long as you dedicate or you inform ICLE. The web registration page will be open starting from 5th of March, where we will have the first kickoff. We cannot guarantee participation inside the UNFCCC because of the quota that we don't know yet, but we are happy to make the connection. We are in touch with our colleagues from UNU, United Nations University, also especially in the IPCC special report agenda. So happy if you inform us and that you are interested and we can check options of your participation. So yeah. Okay, Gülnihal Hanım is referring to the Turkish draft climate change law with the 2053 net zero emissions targets embedded and plans to mandate the integration of local governments into climate policies. Excellent. In this framework, municipalities will be obliged to develop, implement, and report policies on climate change adaptation and emission reduction. That's really good news. Turkey has been actively endorsing CHAMP from its inception. And they have been also actively involved in the rollout. So we'll look forward to having these exchanges in at COP29. We had the president of Turkish Union of Municipalities and numerous municipalities, Marmara Union of Municipalities, and others have all been involved. We'll look forward to hearing updates from Turkey. Turkey is especially also an important country, not just because of my nationality, but also, of course, they are one of the two candidates for COP31. So it is important that our dialogues with the delegation and the municipalities there is strong, so that we can keep the momentum, regardless of course, whether they will host or not. But obviously, Turkey will play a huge role in this process. Good. Augustine is responding in the chat box. Augustine from Rwanda. Excellent. Okay. Excellent. Augustine, you are very likely that you mentioned that you're for the first time joining this cause. RALGA, Rwanda Association of Local Governments, have been an active partner of the LGMA, especially since Glasgow COP26. We have enjoyed Ladislas, the Brief Secretary General, and Dominic as well at COP29. So I assume you are together with them, and happy to connect you in this process. Eloise, what will be the next steps of expressing interest to be part of steering committee of LGMA and start collaboration? Yes, we had committed to that. We will circulate the summary of the discussions we had 2 weeks ago, but there were delays from our side. We'd like to make sure there is a progress. We are particularly very happy to see the feedback from the national level in Brazil last week. Therefore, we are committed to come back to this process, and for sure we are counting on Regions 4, of course. Yeah, that you already mentioned in Regions 4, we are looking at doing an analysis and adaptation components for NDCs with the support of Global Network. Excellent. That's additional information are always welcome. We discussed this in the morning. We heard from UN Habitat. They will update the urban component of NDC's report, but obviously you don't know when the new reports are coming. We are expecting this wave of the first 20 NDCs. This may not be continuing with this speed in the next couple of weeks. It may peak around June, and another peak can be around September. So until that time, we should make sure we are available to track the information. The extracts that I showed in the previous slides was just a very brief, more on the multi-level governance part of it, but definitely thematic engagement in terms of adaptation are definitely important, especially on adaptation. We see most of the references are on the adaptation because Paris Agreement refers to subnational action as well. That was our strength. And we look forward to additional input from Regions 4 in that regard. Rwanda, Augustine is continuing. Rwanda has taken a strong stance against climate change, aiming to become a carbon neutral and climate resilient economy by 2050, with a stated goal of reducing greenhouse emissions by 38% through its climate action plan. Definitely, and we are so excited to have a strong reference to local governments. As far as I know, Rwanda has not submitted its new NDC yet. We look forward to your updates. You can share with us how you are engaging. Rwanda has been a champion of the champ. Therefore, we look forward to your other additional updates. And I think there's a lot Rwanda can continue to the leadership in this process. I think we have more or less. Yes, Delphina has confirmed that UN STSN Urban Finance Commission will be active in on FF4, the fourth Financing for Development Conference in Sevilla. The good news that it will be just after the UN Climate Conference in Bonn in June, middle of June. Therefore, connecting the daring cities, the discussions to FF4 procedures will be excellent and extremely valuable and needed. So that's the reason why we have to make sure we are connected. I know we are coming to the end, but Bianca, I was wondering whether if you're still with us, maybe any brief feedbacks or remarks, maybe in terms of next steps, if there is any update on that. Meanwhile, Delphina is referring that UN Habitat and World Bank on the engagement and advocacy. Yes, definitely. UN institutions and World Bank are powerful partners, but let's not forget the constituency-based engagement. The real voice of local and regional governments to be represented by the networks is the priority for us, and that's why we have invited STSN, Urban Finance Commission, to co-lead the LGMA Finance Working Group. Therefore, we'd like to come back to this again. We have from C40 Africa, from Zimbabwe, sorry, Charles Mabika from Zimbabwe, from city of Harare. that they are also member of ICLE. We are so proud and happy with your engagement, Charles. We are currently applying to do nature-based solutions through the C40 cities. How best can you amplify this? We're committed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions via adaptation. In fact, today is the Urban Shift, which is a Jeff 7 funded initiative, a global initiative implemented by UNEP with the partners of RRI, ICLE, and C40, are having their Urban Shift forum in Nairobi at the both at the UN headquarters but also in the city of Nairobi. And urban nature is a strong component. I think we could. I'm not sure whether we have colleagues from C40. They can respond to you. But from ICLE, you can also ask their support, especially on the Cities with Nature process, which is the bridge to the biodiversity and the nature-based solutions. They can also help you. Zimbabwe is particularly this year very important. Maybe you are aware. Actually, now I'm showing the map again because in July, Zimbabwe will host the Ramsar COP, which is the wetlands, and there we are advancing with the affiliation, the announcement of accreditation of cities for wetlands, and I think that will be the reason why ICLE will also be very active in Zimbabwe. So Charles, I'm happy to connect you to our colleagues in ICLE, also in the C40 as well, and of course. G20 presence of South Africa is very important. It's the first time G20 is coming to an African soil, and African Union is also part of G20. We know Urban 20 will have their September summit in Johannesburg, but we also make sure we will continue until November. So contribution from Zimbabwe, Harare is extremely valuable in that regard as well. Braulio, our dear friend from ICLE, South America, now under the hat of the high-level champions team in Latin America, is joining our webinar, and he asked or he requested to see the NDC slide. Let me come back to this again. We will share the slides with all of you, and that was the discussion with our colleagues. With several partners that we want to make some fast tracking of some good experiences. We have guidance from CHAMP. We have good practices also from the multi-level annex, the multi-level action annex of the COP29 position, but we should develop more. And we know high-level champion team will continue to support us. So Braulio, it will be very valuable to have you contributing to this preparations and also your support in the region as well. Good, good. Excellent inputs and clarifications from all the partners. I see Bianca turned off her camera. She's muted. Maybe she may not be able to intervene because you remember she was saying that she was in the meeting of the observatory of the civil society. But we will, of course, stay
I'm
closely
still here,
with
Yunus.
Bianca. Would you like to add any closing remark?
I don't know if you can see me, but my camera is open. But nevertheless, well, thank you very much for hearing me. And of course, just be available for this whole group, not only as ICLE in its role as LGMA, but also as a friend here in Brazil. I know that we don't have many answers that everyone is asking, but I'm sure that with patience we will get all of the information and all of the pieces of this puzzle that we need to figure out before COP30. So at your disposal for everything that you need on the ground and any information that you might need after this call. Yunus, also you have my contact, so please share with everyone.
Bianca, just one more point. Have you heard how will the dialogue will be evolving with the Brazilian states? Is there any announcement that came from Brasilia?
Well, there will, I think the federal government will not hold other events such as the one from the past week, but the states associations are involved in the Federation Council. So they have technical working groups and they are aware of the discussions on champion implementation of subnational action towards COP30. So I think that will be the channel to engage with the states association as well, because they are part of the Council of the Federation.
Okay, okay. Great. And of course, we will be in touch. In the past, in the multi-level action and urbanization pavilions, we had so many Brazilian states joining us, and we have so many partners there. Our partners, Regions 4 under 2 coalition, they will also be involved with us. So well, let's make sure that they are also aware of our efforts at the national level, and that we ensure a smooth dialogue. Obviously, let's remember this meeting was really purposefully for the newly elected mayors, and last year there were no state level election, there was only municipal elections. That was the purpose of this meeting, not a differentiation but really serving to this person. But COP30 is one of the many agendas that the government was discussing with the new mayors. So uh, let's make sure that we are not making any miscommunication on that front. But definitely, especially the state of Para, as you all know, will be actively involved with the city of Belém, and as well as other Brazilian governors as well. You remember in all the COPs, the Brazilian governors have their own pavilions as well. So we are aiming that this will continue. And the pavilion we will have, the LGMA and UN Habitat-led pavilion, will be expanded even so that we have a stronger presence. Once again, this meeting was really a remarkable kickoff, almost the whole COP in Brazil. I think it's the first time that all the levels of all the leaders have been appearing at the public level, and it was with the local leaders. I think that was a really great demonstration that we are in this process so actively involved, and that gives us the confidence that we will be really playing a huge role in the success of this process. So wish the best of luck for all Brazilian colleagues and partners, and LGMA is proud to help this process or support this process as usual, and we look forward to your welcoming and the soonest. Hello, as you are talking about all of COP in Belém. See, I see. I think you mean, I assume, the some of the events of COP30 being in other cities like Rio, and the synergy with Belém. I think that's what you want to highlight or raised as a point. What we know, according to all the communications, as I said, the name of the COP is COP Amazonia, and that's everyone wants to make sure that this is, and from the Brazilian government perspective, they want to focus on that COP will be in Amazonia. There may be some efforts that could take the discussion or activities on the way to Belém, sometime in other cities of Brazil. We still don't know what and date and venue of the pre-COP, for example. It's usually held in not necessarily in the same city. For example, in COP28, Emirates hosted COP29 in Abu Dhabi, not Dubai. One option we may expect, the Brazilian government may consider to host COP29, maybe in Brasilia or Rio or Sao Paulo. We are hearing some participants or partners are preparing for additional events right before Belém COP. We will see how this will feed into our preparations, but we haven't received any official document yet, including whether or not or how the local climate action summit that was held in Dubai, whether it will be repeated, and if yes, where and how and which format. We don't know this yet. We're waiting for several updates, but the official information that all will be in Belém, and the website cop30.br is also announcing that the accommodation, the logistical hospitality arrangements will be opened by mid-April. So we still have to wait for it. But once again, especially for this year, if we want Belém and Amazonia to be a successful event, we also have to help them, and we also have to prepare our delegations, and we have to make sure that the road to Belém is even more important than the presence in Belém. We therefore want to emphasize once again the value of town hall COPs, that before Belém, every city hall convenes a dialogue with their communities and their national governments. Every regional parliament convenes such dialogues. They discuss about their NDCs, make it better, even improved, and come up with their conclusions, and then communicate this either via national channels or via LGMA to say that it's not the participants present in Belém, but the whole world is part of this global mobilization. Therefore, we would like to encourage such hybrid engagements. And I think this is not just for the purpose of Belém. We also would like to continue this in the future years, that being thousands of people for 2 weeks in a city is not the goal of this process. It is mainly that to make sure that we are not alone and we are more than others who are trying to prevent this process or stop this process. And there are multiple ways of demonstrating this. And through this digital age, we can demonstrate these strengths in numerous opportunities. Town hall COPs could be one of those. And we are so happy also to hear feedbacks yesterday in Barcelona from the Global Task Force, from Brazilian government, from UNFCCC. We are receiving so positive feedbacks, and more updates are coming soon. So let's plan accordingly, that in this new era of climate action, there will be numerous opportunities for us. The important thing is that we make sure we are heading towards climate neutrality by mid-century, and make sure we go back to keeping global warming below 1.5, even if it is now exceeded nowadays. Maybe we can make sure, if we make sure drastic changes can happen, that by the end of century, we can go back to this limitation to 1.5 degree, which is extremely essential. And we know, if not, the consequences will be drastic for all of us. That's the whole purpose, that to avoid this catastrophe. And seize the opportunity of a new climate-friendly civilization. With these closing remarks, I'd like to thank you all for your interest, contribution. We'll get back to you on all the agendas, including the LGMA governance processes, additional updates from Brazil, NDCs. Stay tuned, and thank you for all your leadership and contributions.